Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I hope you guys are staying safe. So in today's tutorial we will be learning how to cut a simple wrap dress. So I have my material here. I'm using a flowered crepe material. So this is my back. I have my back here. So I have the back bodice here. This is the back and this is the front. So because it's going to be a wrap dress, that's why I have this extra at the front. So to determine the extra you want to leave at the front, you can use half of your nipple to nipple measurements around here, which can be 4, but because I still want this to be close to the side seam, so I'm using 6 inches. So I added close to half or quarter of an inch for seam allowance, because I'm going to be turning with bias tape. So now the first thing you do, so I place the back on the front. So this is the center back and I already marked the center front too, so I'm folding it here. So I'm not going to be putting that here, but if you want to put that in your own, you can put it. So now the half length I'm using is 16.5. So to the 16.5 I'll be adding 1 inch extra allowance, half inch for joining the half scale to the flare, and the remaining half inch will be for joining the shoulder. So I have 17.5. So I have my shoulder to shoulder measurement of 8 inches, and the shoulder line I'm using is 9 inches. So when you are taking, when you want to take your the armhole measurement I'm using is 9.5. So when you are taking when you want to take your armhole length, you must have taken your 1 inch shoulder slope before you take your armhole length. So I took my 1 inch shoulder slope here, and after the 1 inch shoulder slope, then I took my armhole line. So then from my shoulder I took the bust point of 11 inches, then the under bust of 13.5, and then the M line. So now the neck width I'm using is 3.5 for the front and back neck width. So the neck depth for the back I'm using 1 inch. So I'll connect it together. Okay, and you curve it. So this is the back neckline here. So now I'm taking the horizontal measurements. You place your bust measurements. Then after you've placed your bust measurement, you place your under bust. I think I use my under bust here because I want the gown to be fitted. Then you place your waist measurements, just like what I'm doing in the video, and then you mark all the points together. Then you go ahead and take the armhole curve for the front, for the back, and so you connect the curve together, and then you take your shoulder slope, you connect your shoulder slope to the neck, so then you roll it out. So at the waist part here, you come in by 1 inch. That is the 1 inch of the 1 inch seam allowance we took. Then from there you come up by half an inch to curve this waistline. Come up by half an inch like so. Then you curve it a little. So you have something like, after curving, you have something like this. You have something like this after curving. So now I'm going to cut it out so that I can focus on the front. So I'm done cutting the measurement. So I measured the half an inch I took at the armhole line, at the armhole curve here. I took it for the front since the markings is on the back bodice. So, and I also cut the curve line at the lower part here. So I'll be taking the back bodice, I'll be taking it off. So now this is the front bodice, and this is the extra. This extra is for the wrap. Okay, so we are using the same neck width. So I use a neck depth of 6.5. So this is the 6.5 here. So then I curve this line here. So for the lower part here, I came up by 1 inch, so that when you are slanting the neckline here, you are going to stop at the 1 inch I'm going to be measuring here. So I'll be coming up by half an inch. The reason why I'll be coming up by 1.5, the half is for the seam allowance at the lower part here, while the remaining 1 inch is where your slant from the neckline here is where it's going to stop. The reason is because that side is where you'll be attaching the belts for the wrap. So I came up by half an inch here. I came up by 1.5. So now we are going to connect the neck. Can you see where it's stopping? It's stopping at the 1.5 inch I marked around here. Stopping at. So now you connect from the neck to the 1.5 inches you mark upward, and then you just do a slight curve at that neck area just to give it a bit of a curve at that side so it doesn't go all the way straight. So then you cut it off just like what I'm doing, and also that part, that 1.5 inches you mark upward, then you also slit that one open as well. For the front, so this is what the front will look like. This is what the front will look like. Okay, so if you want to add that to yours, you can add it. So I'll show you the lower part. So this is the flare. I use 180-degree flare, that is half circle. Is working a waist of 40 inches. So remember, it's a wrap dress, and I added 6 inches for wrap. So 6 inches unfold is 6 inches. When I open it up, it's 12 inches. So the 12 inches, you add it to your waist measurement. So 40 plus 12, you have 52. Then you add extra 2 inches to it. This 2 inches is so you'll be able to fold in the side of the flare you are adding. So I have 54 inches altogether. So the length I'm working with is 26.5 inches plus 1.5 seam allowance. I have 28 inches. The length of the dress is 43 inches. So I removed 16.5 from 43 inches, and I have 26.5. 26.5 plus 1.5 for the seam allowance, I have 28 inches. So now what you are going to do is, I want to assume this is the fabric. So once you've determined your waist measurements, okay, now you need to determine the radius. So because I'm using a half circle, that means I'll be using 3.14 to divide the waist. If you are using a full circle, you are going to be using 6.28 to divide your waist. But if you are using a half circle, you will use 3.14 to determine your radius. So 3.114 divided by 54, I have 17.2. So that means my radius is 17.2. So to determine the amount of fabric you will need, you will now add the length of the flare to your radius. So the length of my flare is 28 inches plus 17.2. Then I have 45.2 inches. So now the 45 is going to be in two places. So you have 145 here, 145 here and another 45 here. Then you now fold like this. If you want to leave it open like this, you can leave it open and take your radius around, and you can also fold like this. So now to now determine your radius, you take the measurement from this point here, this sharp point here. You take the 17.2 measurement, or whatever your radius is, you put it here. To determine, let me explain again. To determine your radius, you divide. If you are using a half circle that I use now, you divide your radius, your waist measurement, divided by 3.14. So, and it will give you a radius. So once you get your radius, you take the radius from this point here down here in a circular motion. So once you are done doing that, once you are done creating that, just like what I have here now, once you are done creating something like this, then from the radius, from what you have here, then you now take the flame measurements. So you go in a circular motion like this, and then you have your waist measurement, which is what I have here. What I just explained now is what I use in cutting this flay I have here. So now the next thing is my basic sleeve. This is just a normal basic sleeve. So I didn't shape the lower part of the sleeve because I'll be putting elastic at the lower part of the sleeve. So I'll go ahead and cut out the marks I did on the sleeve. Okay, so then we'll move to the next stage. For the front bodies, after stitching your ropes together, before you stitch the rope on the 1.5 inches we mark upward, you need to have stitched the neck of the front bodies. That place was slanted. You need to have stitched it with your bias tape before attaching the belt. So, and the dress is ready. So what I did around here is at the right side of the dress, starting from the lower part where you joined the flare, at the right side here, you go up by 1 inch. You go up by 1 inch after the half-inch seam allowance for joining the half bodies and the flare together. So from that half-inch, you go up by 1 inch on the side seam. That 1 inch is the rope opening. That's where the long rope is gonna pass through to the front. So you can roll the belt to the back twice. So the long belt is going to be on the left side, while the short belt is going to be on the right side. So I tape the neck with bias, with a bias tape. This is it. So, and I put elastic on the sleeve. This is the sleeve right here. There's elastic around it. So, and the lower part is flare. So I hem this side of the flare. So, and this is the final look of the dress. So guys, if you find this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to like this video and share. So guys, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.